Okay, I think I've successfully managed to accidentally make myself look like the bookiest bookworm in Bookwormville, so let's do this. Alright, here's the situation. I have 6 minutes, so I could spend that telling you about the 28 books I've been assigned to read over the last 4 years. I could spend it telling you about any number of the 150 books I estimate I've read on my own time over the last 4 years. Or I could, more realistically, spend it telling you about the 4 most influential books I've been assigned to read over the last 4 years and the 4 most influential books that I haven't been assigned to read. Book I've been assigned to read, number 1, is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Now, this book is on this list because it wasn't until I was assigned to read this book in Mr. Cross's Honors English 2, sophomore year, that I realized that my love for poetry and my love for literature could be fused into one medium. I don't know why it took so long for me to realize that prose could be poetic, but it did. The book I've been assigned to read, number 2, is Into the Wild by Jon Krakauer. Krakauer. Into the Wild by Jon Krakauer. This book makes the list because this book taught me that people suffer, which sounds awful, because of course people suffer, and people suffer a lot more than white privileged Chris McCandless, but like, somehow it took this story of this guy who decided to just lose himself in nature for young Emily to realize that, like, hey, people go through struggles that are different than yours and that are far worse than yours, and that was just sort of an eye-opening experience. Book number 3 is The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I think this is like top 3 books I've ever read ever in changing my life, because it wasn't until I read this book the summer before my junior year that I started to realize that I did not need to feel guilty for feeling like I had some advantage intellectually over my peers, because it wasn't something I had control over and it didn't define other people's success compared to mine. So if you have not read this book, do it. It will change your life. There's something for everyone. 4th and final book that I have been assigned that has been influential to me is this beauty. This book is just so tragically beautiful, and I chose it for my research project as well because I don't think I'll ever be tired of this book. I've probably reread it the equivalent of twice looking for quotes, but I love this book, and there's this one quote, and I know exactly where it is and I know exactly what it is, that just I feel like encapsulates the entire message of the novel, and it's, perhaps in the world's destruction it would be possible at last to see how it was made. And I feel like that's just so perfect. This book is incredible. Okay, first book that I was not assigned that was influential is No Matter the Wreckage by Sarah Kay, and it changed my life. I think every single poem in here is dog-eared in some form or fashion, of a code of mine of like what moods they follow, because so I know what poetry I can find when I need it. And it's just, I have half of this book memorized, and I quite honestly attribute this book to the reason my junior year that I was able to finally find the courage to start living who I wanted to be and not who everyone else wanted me to be, because it's so incredible, and she's just such an inspiration, and I adore her. Alright, the second book that I was not assigned that was influential over the last 4 years is Know Not Why by Hannah Johnson. This novel is just about real life. It's about a guy and his friends, and it's just so shockingly human, and it's the most relatable protagonist I have ever read. And it's so good, and I have reread this book so many times I can't even count, and I just adore it so much. Book number 3 that was not assigned to me but was influential is Monument 14 by Emmy Laybourne. This book is it's so good, and it's such a good story, and it quite honestly taught freshman me that just because you're a kid doesn't mean that you don't have the capability to survive and to live as your own person, which is like not necessarily, I'm sure, what the author was going for, but that's what I got from it, so thanks, Emmy Laybourne. Please work. If you die on me right now, this project is due in like 3.5 hours, please. 4th and final book I've read outside of class that was influential is Station 11. Now, this one is sort of cheating because I read this as my choice novel freshman year for fiction first semester, but I I adore this novel. I've read it so many times since freshman year. I'm rereading it right now, and it's so beautifully orchestrated and so beautifully written, and there's so many different stories. It's a beautiful story of humanity, but more than that, it's a story about how art affects humanity, and I love it so much. It's so good. It's everything I love in a book. Alright, I'm sure I have very little of my 6 minutes left, so I'll make this quick. This has been a recap of some of the most influential literature over my last 4 years, and more than anything, I just want to tell my freshman year self how proud I am of her for coming this far. It's been a great 4 years, and I'm so excited to see where the next 4 take me. Yeah, future me watching this, I hope you're, that's a dumb way to end this. I don't, so Bye!